Hey friends, congratulations if you made it through the reading today. This long list of names, long list of family generations. You're probably wondering why anyone would bother with such detail. What might God possibly be saying to us through these names? But let's rewind for a second. The book of 1st and 2nd Chronicles were written around 400 to 500 years before Jesus. As you go through these two books, you'll see that it's a retelling of many of the stories that you find in 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings. Why is that? Well, those earlier books tell the story of the kings of Israel and Judah and how the Assyrians invaded Israel, the northern kingdom, and the Babylonians subsequently invaded Judah, the southern kingdom, taking most of the Jews to Babylon. The Jews were in captivity for many decades, but eventually had the opportunity to return to Judah and rebuild Jerusalem. So now we have a generation returning to Judah, children who have now grown up, who might not know those great stories of old. And so the author of Chronicles, who many people think is Ezra, writes an account for the sake of those who are returning back to Judah from exile in Babylon. The author is saying to the reader, this is the story of our people. This is your story. And so we get this huge genealogy that goes right back to the beginning of the story, to Genesis, to Adam, to remind those who are returning from captivity that they are part of this huge story. It's the story of God, the story of a God who's always at work in the world, the story of a God who never gives up on his people. Everyone in the world today lives by a story that they believe will bring meaning to their lives. The story might be the belief that the way to happiness is through having lots of money or discovering your perfect partner. But the Bible presents God's living story, the real story of what's going on in our world, the story of how this world came to be, what's gone wrong with it, and how God is at work through Christ and through his people to put it right one day. Our challenge is whether we'll embrace God's story or try to make up our own story about how we should live. I pray that we'll embrace God's story. We'll join in with what God is doing in the world, and by doing so discover that this story alone brings all that our souls are longing for.